Well, there's an eye-opening report out this week about the growing number of Americans who are getting federally funded disability payments. For many years, disability insurance was a small but relatively inexpensive program. But the ratio of disability cases to new jobs has exploded during the sluggish recovery from the recession and even over the last decade or so. Between January 2010 and December of 2011, so about a two-year period, there were a reported 1,730,000 new jobs added, 1,730,000, while 790,000 new people started collecting disability in a program now running more than $130 billion total to the taxpayers. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, and Chris Plant is the host of The Chris Plant Show. Welcome. So even before these past 2 years, between 96 and 2001, private sector generated 8.8 million in new jobs, according to a piece posted by Michael Barone. 4.1 million people entered the disability rolls. I mean, the numbers are really staggering. First, let me start with you on this, Leslie, because you are married to a doctor. How does one enter the disability rolls? Do you need to get a doctor's note?
You need a doctor's signature on a federal form because, in my in-between life of broadcasting, I've helped out in my husband's office. So I've seen those forms. So certainly the doctor has the right to say no. One of the problems is, if you know how not only to game this system, to be honest, or if you keep going and knock on enough doctors' doors, you could get a signature. In addition, there are people who will pay people who work in doctors' office to get signatures, and people, the doctors aren't even aware that maybe one of their staff members is doing this. I know this firsthand of a friend of my husband's.
Wow.
But you have to be, my husband's relentless. He's an orthopedic surgeon. If somebody on crutches says, I want a handicap parking sticker, he says, no, you can walk with the crutches. So you have to be tough on this because there's partial disability, there's long-term disability, and there are people that are truly disabled who truly need this funding. I don't think we should throw out the baby with the bathwater, but there's no question that there certainly is some fraud and abuse in the system, no question.
There's been an explosion, Chris. If you look at the numbers, in 1960, this is, again, according to the Barone piece, he's citing his colleague's book, who extensively researched this, 455,000 workers in 1960 getting disability payments. In 2011, 8.6 million people. Which is a huge jump in percentage, even when you account for population growth. What's really going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we've got government, and congratulate, thank you, Leslie. I think you're telling the truth. It is a system, a program that is ripe for abuse. You can shop doctors and get a doctor's note, and that's all you need. Then you're kind of on the dole for the rest of your life. I'm all for providing for people who are in need. I have a brother who is on disability. But if in my lifetime we've gone from having 0.6% of the population on disability to having 5.6% of the population on disability, when we're supposed to be healthier and have better health care now, you know that you've got a problem. And nearly half of the people who are collecting make claims like they have disabilities such as mood disorders and, soft tissue disorders.
Problems.
Yeah, musculoskeletal, soft tissue disorders that you really can't prove medically or in court. So obviously the system is being gamed to death, and it's quite honestly one of many government programs that are being gamed to death.
It's a huge cost to the American taxpayer, Leslie, because they say that, it's one thing if you're 60 and something happens to you, maybe you have a life-altering cardiac event, you can no longer do your job. Right. You're pretty close to getting your Social Security anyway at that point, because this is like Social Security, I guess, the payment. But they're saying more and more there's been an explosion of people in their 30s and 40s cashing in on this. So you get it, for the rest of your life? You get these disability payments?
Well, first of all, and I know, Chris, I may have had you agree with you, but now we're going to part ways, okay? Because when you say now that we have health care, no, we don't. We haven't.
I didn't say now we have health care.
That's one of the problems is, and my husband would be the first to say, because we don't have the prevention, we get people to this point, whether it's partial, short-term, long-term, in that disabled state. Second of all, if you look at the numbers, a huge amount of our population in that age group you were talking about, Megan, have applied for disability based on obesity. And that's a huge problem in our nation. And that is a disability. And unfortunately, we haven't addressed that. We are starting to
so
now
they
more
get to the point where they're so obese they don't feel that they can work, that they are disabled. So now because they are obese, they now get disability payments. I mean, that is a taxpayer-funded benefit, is it not?
It's not, yes, but it's not just the obesity. Remember, my husband will tell you that the first thing he will say to somebody that comes in with knee problems is, you got to lose weight because you're putting all that weight on your knees. When you think about what you're doing to your organs, when you think about people who become, they're not mobile any longer and they can't get to a job.
You're tapping into a very interesting narrative, Chris, because does this speak, I mean, I know you're anti-big government, Chris, but does this speak more to a mentality of many in the American public than it does about big government? I mean, just a shift in attitude about what was right in 1960 versus today.
Yeah, and there are certainly numerous factors. And Leslie, what I said was I think our healthcare system is better now than it was in 1960. So, people have whatever. That's a debate for another day. Certainly there are numerous factors, and there is, a mentality issue in the United States of America. The entitlement mentality is expanding all over the place. And one of the issues with disability is right now, in the last couple of years at least, not looking at it from 1960 till today, but the last couple of years, a big part of it is your unemployment insurance runs out and you go shopping around for other government entitlement programs that'll help keep the lights on. And these are among the entitlement programs. This program in particular is among the programs where you can, as you said yourself, game the system. I have a mood problem. I'm overweight. I've got soft tissue damage that you can't establish one way or the other. And before you know it, you're getting green checks every month.
Yeah. Leslie, Chris, thank you both.
Right.
Thank you, Megan.
Well, there's a new